My name is Maris Everly, 31 years old. The night glows like it has been dipped in honey. String lights scalloped across the backyard, brass catching the warm dusk, laughter pooling near the makeshift dance floor, where Ethan's college friends swap stories I can almost finish for them. The hydrangeas are precisely the shade my planner called ocean fog. For a suspended second, everything feels easy, as if I've stepped into a life I might actually be allowed to keep. Then my mother arrives wearing that smile, the lacquered one that looks like approval from a distance and a verdict up close. "You look beautiful," she says, smoothing an invisible wrinkle from my sleeve, the way she ironed flat every protest I made as a kid. "Val, Maris, darling, I need to tell you our little plan." Plan? The word catches like a seed hull in my throat. There are no plans on my wedding day beyond what Ethan and I already blueprint with lists and backup lists. "We've decided to give the car to Tessa," she says lightly, as if she's announcing hors d'oeuvres. For a beat, my mind blanks. Then she gestures toward the silver Subaru Outback across the yard, a red ribbon ornamental and mocking against the door handle. Ethan's parents gave it to us this afternoon, the kind of gift Atlas might sigh beneath but insist is joy. $22,000 in metal and promise. Reliability, a future measured in miles. Tessa needs it more than a couple with two incomes. My mother's voice has a philanthropic sheen. I look past her at my sister and address the color of lightning, silver that wants to be seen. Tessa lifts her hand, all shimmer and angles, and gives a small wave with a set of keys that catch the light like a taunt. A tide of guests swells and ebbs around us, blissfully unaware. That old ache, the one with my name on it, threads through my ribs. Being the responsible one was never an accolade in our house. It was a job description. My body remembers before my brain does. The bigger bedroom surrendered at 12 because, you understand, the two part-time jobs at 18 that funded a rusted Toyota while Tessa studied in uninterrupted quiet, the holidays where she opened the latest phone and I unwrapped bath soaps wrapped in sincerity. Ethan looks up from his friend group, finds my face in a second, and starts toward me. His brow knits, the way it does when he reads contracts for the second time. A hand lands on my elbow. Steady heat, a question he doesn't have to ask. "It's just a car," my mother continues, as if a declarative sentence can unspool a lifetime of knots. "Don't make this a thing." Her tone is the bell I've always responded to. For 31 years, I've been a tuning fork for her discomforts. Tonight, dressed in white, I hear another frequency, my own. "Excuse me a moment," I say, surprised by the calm in my voice. I open the beaded clutch, lipstick, tissue, envelope, and take out a single sheet. My fingers shake, but not from uncertainty, from the tremor of a pattern about to crack. "You're giving away our wedding gift?" My voice is even enough to slice open the ambient chatter. Heads pivot. The band's saxophonist pauses mid-breath. Ethan's presence aligns beside me like a pillar I forgot I'd been building. "Val Maris," my mother says through her smile. "This isn't the time or place." "When would be better?" I ask softly. "After Tessa drives away in our car?" I hold up the paper. "We had this notarized last week. Wedding gifts can't be transferred without our consent." Tessa's outrage flares fast and bright. "You what?" The keys jangle, a small wind chime of entitlement. Across the yard, Ethan's parents, Barbara and James, look over, concern cresting into something sharper. James's jaw sets. Barbara's earrings tremble with a shake of her head as they thread through the cluster of guests forming a ring around our family theater. My mother's expression flickers. "This is a family matter." "Yes," I say, "and Ethan is my family now." My father arrives, the familiar crease of worry between his eyebrows, the same silence he has practiced his whole marriage when conflict requires voice. He raises a hand as if to soothe water already boiling. "There's more," I tell my mother, and retrieve my phone. I tap open the last image from last night. Tessa in our garage, silver dress traded for leggings, and a smirk, one palm on the hood of the ribboned Subaru, the other flashing a peace sign. Caption: "Finally got a ride that fits me." My father tries for gentle reason. "She was excited about the possibility, sweetheart. Don't blow this out of proportion." "The possibility of taking someone else's gift?" Ethan asks, voice level, like a line drawn with a carpenter's pencil. I swipe to a different screen. A text thread between Mom and Tessa from 3 weeks ago. "We'll handle it at the reception," Mom wrote. Easier to present as decided than to ask permission. Barbara stops beside me, the kind of calm that looks like a past life in litigation. Catherine, she says to my mother, is this true? You told us you chose this for Maris and Ethan. We're sharing resources, my mother replies, thin-smiled. Families do that. You didn't ask us to share, I say. You announced you were taking. Tessa shifts into the performance I know too well, the wounded lamb face, the tremble at the edge of her mouth. Why are you making such a scene? It's just a stupid car. If it's just a stupid car, Ethan says, mild as a surgeon, why do you need it so badly? Conversations snip off around us. The saxophonist lowers his instrument. The sky gives up its last strip of apricot and goes indigo. I feel adolescent instincts scrabble at me. Fix it, smooth it to disappear. Then another voice, mine again, answers back. Patterns continue until decisively broken. You're causing a scene over nothing, my mother hisses, perfume thick with the memory of every Sunday I tried to earn a different ending. Think of the family shame. The words click into place like a key I've been afraid to turn. Family shame, I echo, and something loosens. A therapist once told me that clarity is less like a trumpet and more like a bell underwater. It doesn't demand, it hums until you can't ignore it. This isn't about a car, I say, and I'm stunned by the steadiness in my own mouth. It's about respect, about the life we're building without being drafted into the old script. James takes the document, glasses low on his nose. Legally binding, he says, returning it to me with a nod that feels like a benediction. From the periphery, my college roommate Madison raises her phone, not to weaponize the moment, but to keep it from being rewritten later. My mother reaches for authority and grasps air. You would stop embarrassing us and behave like family. I am behaving like family, I answer, the kind that honors boundaries. I pull a second envelope from the clutch, unmarked, smaller. This is notice of unauthorized access to our property, I tell Tessa, entering our garage for photos with a car that doesn't belong to you. My father makes a soft, startled sound, an animal hearing its own name in a human mouth. This is a wedding, he pleads, not a courtroom. Exactly, I say, so let's stop calling theft love. Silence takes the yard in its palm. The heat behind my eyes isn't grief. It's adrenaline tapering off after years of vigilance. Across the garden, guests shift, not away from us, but back to themselves, as if the spell of our family's choreography has snapped. Ethan turns to the band. Would you play? He asks, voice so gentle it steals my breath. The saxophonist nods. A melody unfurls, careful at first, then braver. Ethan's arm finds my waist, and it's like stepping into a room I thought was locked. We move across the grass, the crowd's gaze softening into something like privacy. Behind us, Tessa's voice spikes, then thins. My mother's admonitions flatten into air. Barbara catches my eye and lifts her glass, just the smallest raise, a crescent of solidarity. James's nod is short and firm. My father's face is a thunderhead with no lightning, eyes holding a question he isn't ready to ask. We turn, and the world returns to motion. Somewhere by the dessert table, Madison's phone buzzes. Mine does too, muffled in my clutch. A notification blooms on the lock screen, a first tremor from a fault line that's been straining for years. Later, there will be posts I can't unread, a fundraiser I didn't see coming, cousins who mistake volume for truth. Later, my doorbell will ring and no one will have called first. But for the length of this song, I decide what the moment is. It is not surrender. It is not apology. It is a pivot, small in the body, tectonic in the heart. The ribbon on the Subaru flutters in a breeze I can't feel, and I think, drive your life, Maris. Do not be driven. Ethan's cheek brushes mine. You okay? He whispers. I listen to the answer form. Not yet, I say, honest at last. But I will be. The lights overhead tremble with moth wings. The music skims the surface of something deeper than this yard, this night, this car. I step closer to my husband and, for the first time, feel a future that does not require my disappearance. Somewhere in the garden, my mother recalculates. Somewhere in the dark, our phones keep buzzing. I keep dancing. 2 days later, the morning doesn't so much arrive as detonate. My phone lights up with a stack of notifications so thick it looks like a skyline. Not the gentle good morning text from Ethan, not the congratulations still trickling in, but a surge with teeth. On the screen, Tessa's post. Some people love cars more than family. praying for those who measure love in dollars instead of memories. It's the sort of sentence engineered to be shared without context, an invitation to choose sides without knowing the game. Comments flood beneath it. Friends from high school I haven't spoken to in years. Second cousins who only remember me as the girl who never needed much. Strangers who love a tidy villain. Mom has commented too, an anointing oil of piety, praying for those who forget where they came from. Family should always come first. It reads like a benediction and burns like a match. Ethan rolls toward me, hair crushed into sleep's soft geography. What is it? I turn the screen. His jaw tightens the way it does when a colleague crosses a line and calls it partnership. They're trying to rewrite it, I say, to bury what happened under a story that paints me ungrateful and cruel. I scroll and flinch. A GoFundMe link. Left carless by betrayal. Help a sister start fresh. There's a photo of Tessa looking small against a big sky, palms open, eyes tipped toward heaven. Money is already blooming in the bar, a creeping vine up a trellis. People will pay to be part of drama, Ethan murmurs, a grim kind of awe in his voice. A new donation pops up, $15 from someone named Reality, with the comment, maybe get a job instead of a handout. A laugh cracks out of me, startled, a noise I don't recognize. When was the last time anything about this family made me laugh? My phone rings. Maris. It's our photographer, Linda, her voice carrying the steadying cadence of someone who's seen 1,000 weddings and the weather systems inside them. Your mother called me this morning to request I delete some reception photos, specifically the ones by the gift table. I steady my breath. And? I told her the photos belong to you and Ethan, Linda says gently. She wasn't pleased. I'll send everything to your secure folder, including the raw files. When I hang up, Ethan is already at the table with his laptop open, a battlefield unfurling into columns and folders. We need to document everything, he says. Screenshots of their posts, the fundraiser, the texts, all of it. He looks up. We don't have to use it, but if they push this, we won't be at the mercy of their version. The family group text erupts like a Greek chorus. We're concerned about your behavior. This isn't like you. Wedding memories should be treasured, not ruined with pettiness. Aunt Deborah sprinkles concern like confetti. Uncle Robert mails in a moral. Cousin Janet sends a voice memo layered with sighs. I set the phone down. If I listen long enough, I can hear myself stepping back into a role I've outgrown. The doorbell rings. Ethan's eyes meet mine. Through the peephole, my parents. Mom's fist tight on her purse. Dad's mouth arranged in apology. They look like the first act of a play we've all seen too many times. I open the door. Mom's eyes are already wet, the tears perched like trained birds. I can't believe my own daughter would humiliate me like this, she says, stepping into our living room as if boundaries were an optional accessory. Dad follows, hands raised in an offering of peace he never quite knows how to deliver. Your mother hasn't slept since the wedding, he adds. Neither have I say, but for different reasons. We sit, Mom on the edge of the sofa, picture of a woman broken by a selfish child. Dad behind her, hands on her shoulders as if to steady, as if to guide. After everything we've done for you, she begins, voice shaking with practiced fragility. All the sacrifices, all the support. This is how you repay us? The old reflex, catalog my gratitude, recite the ledger, apologize for the gap, rises like muscle memory. I let it crest and pass. What sacrifices? I ask quietly. What support? She blinks, stunned by the absence of my usual script. I keep my tone even, surgical. When I needed braces, you said it wasn't in the budget. Tessa got hers the same year. When I worked 2 jobs to pay for college, you co-signed her loans. When I saved for 3 years to buy my first car, you gave her money for a down payment. When I got into Cornell and couldn't afford to go, you told me to be practical. When Tessa got into UCLA, you took out a second mortgage. When I launched my business, you called it a hobby. When she tried photography for 6 months, you bought a $2,000 camera. Each sentence lands with a soft thud, ripples moving outward. Mom opens her mouth and closes it, a fish pulled from waters where she knows how to swim. This isn't about a car, I say, the words steady enough to bear my weight. It's about respect, and a pattern that ends now. From the kitchen, Ethan clears his throat. We're changing the locks, he says, almost conversationally. Mom gasps like a Victorian heroine. What kind of daughter? One who understands that family without boundaries is bondage, I answer, not unkindly. My phone buzzes across the coffee table. Madison. Heads up. Your mom called our photographer and tried to censor the photos. Linda refused. Another message follows. Also, are you okay with me saving some of the footage I recorded? I reply, yes. Please keep everything. Date it. Across from me, Dad rubs the bridge of his nose. We can resolve this quietly, he says. Family matters should stay in the family. I agree, I say, and Ethan is my family. Mom exhales a laugh with no humor in it. This isn't you. Someone's turned you against us. I stand, my body suddenly exhausted by the architecture of this conversation. I need you to leave now. We drove all this way, Mom says. Without calling first, I reply. Another line crossed. Outside, the day has sharpened into a cold brightness. Dad looks at me, something like a flicker of seeing crossing his face before he cloaks it. When the door closes, the house exhales. Ethan rests his forehead against mine. You did it, he says. We're not done, I answer, and know it's true. The fight has only changed shape. We build a file. We pull down every public post and archive it. We photograph the red sticker on the garage where Tessa posed. We save Mom's text to Tessa about presenting as decided. We draft an email to the family. Boundaries as bullet points. No unannounced visits. No public shaming. No triangulation through other relatives. Violations will have consequences. We write the words, this is not punitive, this is protective. I let the sentence sit there like a small light. What if they ignore it? Ethan asks. I picture my mother's tear-salted determination, my sister's talent for martyrdom. Then we make decisions from clarity, not panic, I say, and I almost believe I can live that way. The doorbell rings again, insistent, impatient. I don't move. Another chime. My phone blooms with a text from Lisa, a friend at my design firm. Your mom and sister are here at the office asking for you. Want me to tell them you called in sick? My stomach drops, less like fear and more like confirmation. Of course they took it there. If home is walled, they'll come for the place that feeds me. What? Ethan's voice is ice that knows how to float. I pass him the phone. They're turning on the waterworks at your job, he says, already reaching for his laptop. Another message arrives. Your mom is crying. Tessa is telling people you're destroying the family. A follow-up. Catherine told my supervisor you're having a nervous breakdown and the family is concerned. Heat rises through my chest. Not shame, not this time, but anger clean enough to see through. They're trying to seed doubt about my professionalism, I say. Ethan nods. We'll document. You'll call your supervisor. We'll get camera footage. We'll notify HR. On cue, the GoFundMe dings again on Ethan's screen. 3,000, he says. She posted an update. We've been threatened with legal action for speaking our truth about family abuse. The language is a weapon dressed in concern. I feel the cut and press a finger to it until it stops bleeding. The doorbell again. Ethan peeks through the blinds. It's your dad. My father's voice carries through the wood, plaintive and paternal. Maris, please. Your mother might need medical attention from all this stress. You need to talk to her. My hand rests on the knob, then pulls back. I text him. If Mom needs medical attention, call 911, not me. A pause. She's your mother, he says through the door. And I'm your daughter, I answer, but I'm not her emergency room. He leaves, footsteps light with defeat. I email HR, loop in my manager, attach Lisa's screenshots, request the lobby camera footage. Ethan speaks with his parents. They are unruffled in the way only people who refuse to be drafted can be. Dinner tonight? Barbara texts me. We want to show support, James adds. Keep receipts. By afternoon, the house feels like headquarters. Legal pads, timestamps, folders labeled so clearly a future me won't have to translate. My therapist replies to my message with an opening for an emergency session. I don't feel broken. I feel braced. There's a difference. Boundary letter, Ethan asks. We open a new document. To our family, I type, hands steady, effective immediately. Here are our non-negotiable terms for continued relationship. The words are not rage. They are architecture. We outline no unannounced visits, no gifts with strings, no public posts about us without permission. Any violation triggers 6 months of no contact. Before anything resumes, family therapy, my choice of provider. I attach a skeleton of exhibits we'll fill in. A timeline of incidents from 12 to last week, the wedding footage, corroborating statements, financial records that map a history I have always carried and never drawn. Ethan closes his laptop and looks at me like a compass. You want coffee? He asks. I nod. He leans down, presses a kiss to my hair, and when he walks to the kitchen, I feel the strangest thing. Not triumph, not fear. Resolve, quiet and clear as a lake at dawn. My phone lights with a final ping before sunset. A private message from an unfamiliar address. I've seen this pattern for years. Your mother did similar to her sister in the 90s. Stay strong. Some of us recognize what's happening. I show Ethan. He reads it, then wraps an arm around me as if to say, the story is wider than their stage. We send the boundary email draft to our own inboxes to sleep on. We agree to change the locks tomorrow. We list the hardware store, the security camera updates, the dash cam. We plan a drive up the coast, not as escape, but as reclaiming air that hasn't been breathed by my family first. Night comes slow and certain. The house hums. Somewhere in the city, my mother is composing a new monologue. Somewhere online, the fundraiser keeps ticking. In our living room, under a lamplight that makes everything look kinder, I run my finger along the edge of the notarized document and think about the quiet I want to build. It won't be silence. It will be a boundary that sings. The day after the locks are changed, I wake to the sound of the ocean. Not the real one, but the recording Ethan downloaded for sleep. It's become a small kind of joke between us. We can't stop the noise outside, he'd said, but we can choose which waves we listen to. The metaphor fits more than either of us expected. By mid-morning, the quiet is interrupted by another ping. Lisa again. Security footage from work is ready. HR has the file. I thank her, a hollow gratitude blooming behind my ribs. This is how boundaries look at first. Sterile, procedural, necessary. Ethan glances over from his laptop. You're pale. I'm tired, I admit, but also awake in a way I've never been. He nods toward the suitcases half packed by the door. Then let's drive. Not an escape, I remind myself. A reset. The Pacific Coast Highway feels like oxygen. The Subaru hums, its engine steady beneath the weight of everything it's come to symbolize. For miles, we don't speak. Just the rhythmic flash of coastline and cliff, the salt smell so sharp it feels medicinal. I roll down the window and let the wind take something from me. Resentment, maybe, or the illusion that I can never make my mother understand. By noon, we reach a small town with one gas station, one diner, and a view that belongs on postcards. Over coffee so strong it could strip paint, Ethan opens his phone. It's getting worse, he says. The GoFundMe's past 4,000. She's added new updates. Claims we're threatening legal action for telling the truth about abuse. I stare at the screen. Abuse? He nods. They're turning it into a morality play. She's the martyr, you're the villain, Mom's the suffering matriarch. I laugh once, sharp. They're writing fan fiction about my life. That night, in a coastal hotel with windows facing the sea, the absurdity hits me in waves. Between them, clarity. The only power they have is the story, and I can take that back. Over takeout, Ethan scrolls through his email. Your HR department confirmed they have the footage. Tessa threw a potted plant when they refused to give her your schedule. They're filing an incident report. Consequences, I say softly. That's new. He looks up. Your father called mine today. And? Dad told him to stop using us as scapegoats, said he's not getting involved in manipulation tactics. Something fragile in me exhales. For the first time, someone outside our circle sees the pattern and names it. The next morning, I sit on the balcony overlooking the water and open my laptop. I start compiling. Every text, every post, every screenshot. 20 years of context that no one's bothered to see. A digital timeline from childhood to this week. Annotated, sourced, undeniable. I add the photo from the wedding, the one Madison took. Me, in white lace, holding the envelope, my mother's shock frozen mid-breath. Ethan leans over my shoulder. You're building a case. I'm building truth, I reply. By evening, the file has grown into a folder. Statements from friends who witnessed the pattern, screenshots of unequal loans, digital receipts from my first car, therapy notes about scapegoating. I'm not compiling this for revenge. I'm compiling it for peace, the kind that comes from no longer doubting my own memory. 3 days into the trip, my father calls. I let it go to voicemail. His message starts calm, ends pleading. Maris, your sister's job is at risk because of the scene she caused. Maybe reach out. Smooth things over. You've made your point. I replay the words twice. Smooth things over. That's always been the expectation, that I would sand down the sharp edges of other people's actions. Not this time. That evening, I post a single photo to my social media. Ethan and me on a cliff, backs to the camera, the ocean stretching infinite ahead. No caption, just the image. Within minutes, old friends comment with hearts and waves. Madison messages privately. Everyone sees what they're doing. You're not crazy. The contrast is startling. Peace in the foreground, chaos behind. 2 days later, an anonymous email slips into my inbox. I worked with your mother years ago. She did similar things to her own sister. Stay strong. It's unsigned, but I don't need a name. Validation has its own handwriting. Ethan sets down his coffee. You realize this might go further before it ends? I know, I say. But boundaries that hold through storms are the only ones that last. When we drive again, I record voice memos, not journal entries, more like evidence of perspective. It's not about the car, I say into the mic. It never was. It's about permission. Who has it? Who takes it? Who finally learns to grant it to themselves? By the time we reach Monterey, I've decided on the next step. We send it, I tell Ethan. The letter, the documentation, everything. To every relative who's weighed in without knowing the facts. He looks at me for a long moment, then nods. Let's do it clean. Back in the hotel room, we finalize the boundary package, a cover letter outlining non-negotiable terms. The notarized document from the wedding. Screenshots, photos, and financial records. A letter from my therapist, anonymous but precise, describing family scapegoating dynamics. We print, sign, and seal copies for every household in the family tree. The act feels both mundane and monumental, like notarizing an earthquake. 2 mornings later, my phone lights up, Mom calling. I let it ring. Then again, then again. A voicemail, shrill with disbelief. What is this? You can't possibly expect me, followed by static, then a clipped, we'll see about this. By noon, Tessa's Instagram fills with a screenshot of my boundary letter captioned, Some people think therapy can replace love. The comments are a split chorus, sympathy, mockery, confusion. But then something unexpected happens. Cousin Robert comments, Actually, her letter made sense. Aunt Linda adds a heart emoji. By evening, Tessa deletes the post. The family chat falls into sudden silence. No accusations. No performative prayers, just quiet, the kind that feels like aftershock. Ethan glances up from his phone. Your dad just texted me. I brace. He says he's reading through your documents, that there are things he didn't see happening in his own house. I close my eyes. That's a start. That night, I stand at the window, watching waves collapse into themselves. The car keys rest on the bedside table, small, metallic proof of everything reclaimed. I don't want them to suffer, I say. I just want the pattern to stop. Ethan slips his hand into mine. Then you've already won. Behind us, the phone buzzes one last time. A text from Mom, the first without command. Maybe we went too far. I just wanted the best for both my girls. The words look almost human, but they arrive too late to rewrite the ending. Outside, headlights streak the road like moving stars. The ocean keeps time against the cliffs. For the first time in months, I sleep without waking to notifications. The silence doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. 6 months later, the air smells like rosemary and rain. I kneel in the small garden behind our cottage outside Portland, fingers pressing soil around a new sprig beside the thyme. Pepper, our gray-muzzled rescue dog, sprawls in a sunbeam nearby. snoring softly like a creature that's finally convinced the world means no harm. Inside, I hear the steady rhythm of Ethan grinding coffee beans, the ordinary music of mornings that don't require defense. When I rise, brushing dirt from my hands, the scent of peace is everywhere: coffee, damp earth, safety. It's strange how quiet can feel like an accomplishment. The mail arrives just before noon. Ethan brings it in, sorting through bills and catalogs before pausing at a pale blue envelope. His eyebrows lift. "From your mother," he says carefully. My pulse skips, not from fear, but from muscle memory. Let me see. The handwriting is unmistakable, rounded loops of control disguised as affection. Inside, a floral card, her words filling both pages. "We miss you. Family should forgive." I read it once, then again, slower. The sentences are soft, almost kind, but every line hums with the same refrain: forgive as synonym for return. The same invitation back into the labyrinth I've spent decades escaping. I smile faintly and tear it in half, the sound quick and clean. Ethan watches, his expression unreadable until he exhales. "You okay?" "Better than okay," I say truthfully, dropping the pieces into the recycling bin. On the mantel sits our wedding photo, the moment of confrontation frozen forever, me holding the notarized envelope, my mother's face twisted in disbelief, Ethan standing beside me like gravity itself. A year ago, that image would have made my stomach knot with shame. Now it feels like a landmark, the day I stopped apologizing for existing. We celebrate what we jokingly call our boundary anniversary with takeout from the Thai place down the street. Pepper gets a piece of chicken as tribute. Ethan raises his glass. "To freedom," he says. "To peace," I answer. Later, our friends Jamie and Mark join for dessert. The conversation drifts easily. No hidden barbs, no performance, no family landmines, disguised as questions. When they leave, Ethan leans against the counter, watching me. "You stand taller now," he says. "You laugh more." I think about it. Maybe because I'm no longer waiting for permission. He nods, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "You gave yourself what they never did." That night, as we walk Pepper through quiet streets, the trees whisper overhead like old women gossiping. In kindness. I remember the girl I used to be, the one who took smaller slices, quieter tones, invisible victories. She didn't vanish, she just learned to rest. At work, my design business is thriving. Projects pile faster than I can finish them. Clients refer friends, and for once, my success isn't shadowed by someone else's need. Every week, I log into an online support forum under a pseudonym, offering advice to people learning to draw lines around their pain. It feels like purpose grown from scar tissue. Some nights I still dream of my mother's house, the clatter of dishes, the constant subtext of, "Don't make this a thing." In the dreams, I'm still trying to explain myself, but when I wake, the silence of our cottage answers the question I used to chase. I don't have to explain anymore. A month later, another envelope arrives. This one unsealed, a printed invitation with gold foil edges. My parents' 35th wedding anniversary. The tagline in elegant script: "Come celebrate the healing of our family." Ethan looks at me over his coffee. "What do you think?" I fold the card once, twice. I think healing doesn't need an audience. We don't go. 2 weeks afterward, Dad calls. His voice is softer now, older somehow. "I've been thinking about your letter," he says. "There are things I should have seen, things I should have stopped." I sit down at the kitchen table, staring out the window where the rosemary glistens in the rain. "Thank you," I whisper. The words taste foreign, but right. A few days later, Tessa posts a cryptic status online. Funny how some people find peace only after burning bridges. There's no mention of me, but for the first time, Mom doesn't comment beneath it. That silence says more than any apology could. The world doesn't change overnight, but its orbit shifts. The GoFundMe quietly disappears. Family gatherings go on without the usual sermon about unity, and the phone stays blessedly still. Sometimes, when Ethan and I drive the same silver Subaru along the coast, I glance at it and smile at the irony. What started as a symbol of division has become our vessel of freedom. The ribbon that once tied it like a prize is long gone, but I still see it in my mind, fluttering behind us as we drive forward. One evening, parked at a cliff overlooking the Pacific, Ethan asks, "Do you ever miss them?" I think before answering. Sometimes I miss the idea of family, but the reality was a life built on guilt, I don't miss that. He reaches for my hand. So where to next? Anywhere, I say, as long as it's forward. We sit in silence, watching the horizon swallow the sun, colors melting from gold to bruised violet. I roll the keys in my palm, feeling their weight, solid, earned mine. When the wind picks up, I whisper into it, half prayer, half declaration. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who stands beside you when the truth finally comes out. Ethan squeezes my hand. Then we built the right one. The waves crash below like applause for endings that sound like beginnings. I close my eyes, and for the first time, the word home doesn't point backward. It points straight ahead.